Hi, everybody. It's 6:02 p.m. We're going to call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. And we're going to call roll in no particular order. Scott Mandel is here. Jeff Hartwick.
Here.
Patty Kirby.
Here.
And Marcia Newman is excused. That gives us 3 out of 4, which is a quorum. So let's get rolling. Item number 1 on our agenda is the approval of the August minutes. Absent any objection, if I don't hear any, we'll just call those approved. Okay, thank you. And now we'll move on to item 3, which is the chair update. Lots going on. I'll talk fast. In no particular order. Somebody was asking about a radar display that Greater Valley Glen actually purchased for $7,000, and how we go about getting one, besides coming up with $7,000. The Valley Glen one is not operational yet. They bought it in May. It is not going to be running until sometime in October, after which we'll give it a month or 2. I'll see what kind of progress they're making, if they're willing to loan it on a rental basis, and such, and if it is worth it. But I don't know if we have the $7,000. I don't think we do, but I'll bring that up later when I get some more information. Next up, regarding the dangerous homeless person who lives at the Zev Yaroslavsky Greenway between Whitsett and Coldwater. I was able to get the sheriff host team out, and they interviewed him, started their paperwork. They're going to be dealing with county mental health and sheriff park patrol. I'm going to be dealing with MCRA on this. They have jurisdiction as well over that strip of land. And once they file their report, then, as I understand it, I'll be dealing with county mental health. It's a bit of a jurisdictional issue in that stretch of the river, and the person keeps straying from county to MCRA to city property regularly. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and I'll fill you in when there's more to fill you in. There was a request about a drainage ditch sidewalk area that runs along Harvard Westlake. It's quite an unusual feature of the sidewalk. Anyway, our transportation committee chair was kind enough to forward that over to the Bureau of Street Services, who is going to get back to us. So that will be possibly on next month, or maybe transportation committee. Trash at the encampments, of course, is one of the major issues people keep writing about. I came up with an idea, which is not ready for committee action yet. I'll just give you a very short rundown of what I'm preparing, probably for next month, with the possibility of adopting an encampment, a small one, and working with a trash collection service to deposit a couple trash cans and do weekly trash pickup. I'm working on getting some prices and working out the logistics to see if the people living at the encampment will actually throw their trash away if given the opportunity, because these encampments don't have trash cans. So I hope to have more details for next month and have it on the agenda. One last issue for this part of the meeting was the unsecured homes that are either under construction or vacant, and the fires, or the possibility of fires from transients that go in and occupy them. I was making some progress with our council field deputy, Jessica Fugate, on that, and we were coming up with a plan. She's no longer there. I have to start over with somebody new. As soon as that somebody new is announced and I make contact, I will have more information on that. So that's all I got. Next up, public comment on non-agenda items. for 1 minute, 10 minutes max. Anybody out there have a public comment on a non-agenda item? Peter, you have anything? No? Okay. Okay, caller with 713. Go ahead. I'll start your clock.
Hi, this is Ruth. I'm your unhoused neighbor. I've met you, Officer Smith. It was a few years ago, though. I don't think you remember me. I just wanted to say that with the fire thing, I was talking to Kira from the Homelessness Committee about getting fire extinguishers to low-income people, including homeless people. I had my life saved by a fire extinguisher once, and I think that everyone knows that we don't usually have cell phones. We can't, we're the first responders a lot of times. And we didn't really get anywhere with the LAFD. So maybe you could help with that, or if you have any ideas. Another thing too was that I was working with Jessica also because there was some trash cans in the area of some encampments that hadn't been emptied for over a year. And she ended up getting them emptied, and they get emptied regularly now. But a lot of times the trash near the encampments is not, it's a result of the services, like the city services not being kept up.
Okay,
like we have
that's a minute. Thank you. And not seeing any more hands. We'll go on to item 5. I don't see Sean Smith in the audience yet. Sometimes he tunes in a little late if he's working on something, so we'll keep an eye out for him and circle back to number 5 as well as number 6 if somebody chimes in. So next item is number 7. This is a joint motion with our transportation committee, and Barry Johnson was going to be in attendance, and he was going to make a brief introduction to this. This already passed the transportation committee unanimously, and the agenda, the motion is actually written on the agenda. I can read it. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 21-0870, illegal street racing, drag racing, traffic calming measures, Vision Zero, Los Angeles Police Department Street Racing Task Force. Of course, we all know illegal street racing is a danger to all pedestrians, cyclists, drivers, and even persons inside their homes. We look forward to seeing the results from the Department of Transportation and the Bureau of Street Services in coordination with the Los Angeles Police Department Street Racing Task Force as far as recommendations to address the safety issue. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 21-0870. It's pretty self-explanatory. Street racing, organized street racing, and spur of the moment street racing is an ongoing hazard. We read about it and hear about it in the news regularly. We'll take any public comment on that first, and then we'll go to committee discussion. If you have public comment on this particular motion, please raise your hand. Oh, I need a second. So will someone give me a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Thank you. Patty with the second. And now on to public comment. Raise your hand if you want to talk about this particular motion. Not seeing any hands, we'll close public comment and go to any committee discussions. Just go ahead, start speaking if you have anything to say.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. You read about in the papers, see it on TV all the time about all these tragic incidents involving the illegal street racing. So I think more needs to be done in this area to protect Angelino. So I think it's a good thing.
Thank you. And I think with transportation and public safety behind it, it should be an easy sell to the board, but one never knows. If that's it, then I guess we'll go to a vote. Scott Mandel, I vote yes. Jeff Hartwick
Yes.
and Patty Kirby,
Yes.
and passes unanimously. Okay. This is great, moving right along. Item 8. I'm keeping an eye out for Sean Smith. Don't see him yet. Item 8, discussion and possible motion, community impact statement with respect to council file 20-1267 titled Modified Mufflers, Noise Sensitive Areas, Local Enforcement, Limit Use, Subject Matter, Modified Mufflers on Vehicles, Quality of Life Issue. I will now read the motion. Find the motion. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports council file 21-0975, illegal street racing, reckless driving. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Take 2. Modified. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports council file 20-1267 title Modified Mufflers, Noise Sensitive Areas, Local Enforcement. Modified mufflers on vehicles disrupt our quality of life due to their excessively loud noise. In addition to being loud, they can create backfires that are often mistaken for gunfire or explosions, which can lead to calls for police response. Presently, there are existing laws that govern noise emitted by vehicles by both the city and the state. We agree that the regulations for modified mufflers should be more heavily enforced and support the efforts of the council to direct the chief legislative analyst in concert with the LAPD and the office of the city attorney to report on possible ways to more effectively limit the use of modified mufflers, especially in noise sensitive areas. This motion is to be submitted as a community impact statement, council file 20-1267. Need a second?
Second.
Ted, over it.
So again, pretty self-explanatory. We all hear the modified mufflers. It kind of goes hand in hand with the street racing. The harder you press on your accelerator, the more the modified mufflers make the sound. I think that's the whole point. Citizen app and such is filled almost daily with reports of gunshots. Their muffler sounds. There's actually modified mufflers that are specifically designed to replicate gunfire. And there's a market for that. So we'll go to public comment first on item 8, modified mufflers. If anybody has a public comment on agenda item 8, raise your hand. Not seeing any hands. We'll go to committee discussion if there is any. Anyone have anything to say about modified mufflers? Any fans of the mufflers? Okay, well then I guess we can go right to the vote. So Scott Mandel votes yes, Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
and Patty Kirby.
Yes.
Okay, so we got 3 for 3 on 8. Now looking, no Sean Smith yet. Okay, item 9 on our agenda. Again, related to the previous 2 motions. Discussion of possible motion, community impact statement with respect to council file 21-0975, illegal street racing, reckless driving exhibition, spectator gathering, promotion, facilitation. that's the subject, and now I'll read the motion. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 21-0975, title Illegal Street Racing, Reckless Driving, Exhibition, Spectator Gathering, Promotion, Facilitation. Illegal street racing is a danger to all pedestrians, cyclists, drivers, and even persons inside their homes. We support the city attorney being requested to report on the feasibility of enacting an ordinance to make it unlawful to knowingly encourage, promote, instigate, assist, facilitate, aid, or abet the gathering of persons as spectators at a street race or reckless driving exhibition, modeled after the ordinance recently adopted by the city of San Jose. This motion is to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 21-0975. Second by,
Patty.
thank you. Again, self-explanatory. We see on the news the crowds, the intersection takeovers, and people doing the donuts and what have you. And now even the spectators are getting hit by cars, in addition to intersections being taken over. I was actually witness to an intersection near us in Studio City that was taken over by a group of cars on Moore Park and Coldwater Canyon. And the intersection was taken over for about 5 minutes. They didn't do street racing, but it was for a convoy of cars going through the red light, and they blocked all 4 corners and continued on. I actually have that on video. So I'll open this up to public comment. Anybody from the public want to comment on this item, the spectator facilitation of the street racing? Raise your hand. Not seeing any hands. Any committee members want to throw their 2 cents worth in?
Nope.
Seems pretty clear cut. So again, to the vote, Scott Mandel is a yes. Jeff Hartwick,
Yes.
Patty Kirby.
Yes.
All right. Wow, we're making great time. Thanks. Let's go on to item 10. This will be even faster. This was my bad. We already discussed this and approved it. I failed to add to the end of it the words, "This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS to CF 21-0869. I'll read the motion again. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 21-0869, which will bring welcome improvements to the LAPD online experience, as well as streamlining and improving the process for new and existing neighborhood watch programs. Crime and public safety are of great concern to the stakeholders of Studio City, and upgrades to the LAPD website will help to improve community public safety. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 21-0869. Anyone from the public? Oh, I need a second because it was slightly revised. So
Second.
thank you. And I see Sherry. Go ahead. We'll give you 1 minute once you
Hi.
start speaking.
I just want to give you an FYI. The LAPD is in the process of updating their website. So that is being worked on as we speak. They are getting rid of old stuff and putting in new stuff. So they're well aware of it. It's been up in the police commission meetings and the chief has reported on it. So that aspect is being taken care of.
That's great. Do you know if there happens to be any cooperation between the city council, because they were dedicating some funding and resources to help, not just ordering this?
No, I don't know. I know that they do have somebody, the department head does have a group that's working on the updating and purging all the old information. So I don't know exactly who's doing that or who's funding it.
Okay, that's great information. I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted your 1 minute. Do you keep going?
Not a problem.
Anybody else from the public? Okay, we can move on to committee. we've already discussed this, so I don't know if you have anything more to say. If not, we'll just go right to the vote about adding the community impact statement tag at the end. So Scott Mandel votes yes, Jeff Hartwick
Yes.
and Patty Kirby.
Yep.
Great. Moving right along, don't see Sean Smith yet. He may not make it tonight. He was doubtful or wasn't certain he'd be able to come to this meeting. Item 11, discussion and possible motion, community impact statement with respect to council file 210929, unlawful sitting, lying, sleeping, unlawful personal.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I apologize. I got too many things going. Okay, sorry. I'll
Unlawful,
turn off my,
unlawful
okay.
sitting, lying, sleeping, unlawful personal property storage, maintenance, schools, signage, designated schools as sensitive use and required signage. So let me read the motion for number 10. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council, SCNC, supports Council File 21-0929, title Unlawful Sitting, Lying, Sleeping, Unlawful Personal Property Storage, Use, Maintenance, Schools, Signage. The LA City Council passed and the mayor signed revisions to the Los Angeles Municipal Code, Section 41.18 C1 and D. The first steps are to designate locations as sensitive use, where encampments and other associated activities are to be prohibited within 500 feet, after which proper signage must be posted so that the ordinance can be enforced. We support this first step in designating schools as sensitive use and directing the Department of Transportation to post signage. This motion is also to be submitted as a community impact statement, CIS, to Council File 21-0929. Need a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. We'll be going to public comment on this first, and then we'll go to committee discussion. If anyone would like to talk about this motion, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands being raised. Up, I see a hand. Caller 713. I'll start the clock for 1 minute. Once you start speaking, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. The motion to criminalize homelessness near schools is it's bullshit. The statistics on homeless students are almost 5% right now. That was the last normal school year before the pandemic. Almost 5% of K through 12 LAUSD students were homeless. I was a homeless student when I was 13. There's many homeless students. There's basically one in every classroom with the 5%. So you're criminalizing homelessness and you're saying it's for the kids, but like the kids are the ones that are getting shafted by this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anybody else? Let me lower your hand. Anybody else have public comment? Not seeing any hands raised. We'll go to committee comments. First, I just wanted to say that there are a number of conditions precedent that must be in place before these sensitive use areas can be enforced. One of the conditions is signage. The council has a list of every single school and address in their districts, and the Department of Transportation first has to put signage, and then other steps are made before the encampments can be cleared. As far as sensitive use, this is limited. This particular motion relates to a particular council file, and it is strictly limited to within 500 feet of schools. There was a encampment fire just the other day about 100 feet from Rio Vista Elementary School. It was along the Tahunga Wash off of Island, and the smoke was pouring over and into the school. If we can't agree that schools are a priority where dangerous campsites can't be, with the associated activities, using Rio Vista again as an example, with the uncapped syringes, the block sidewalks, the human waste and such, I just find it difficult to believe that we can't enforce sensitive use around schools, given the number of complaints and the safety hazards. So now we're to committee discussions. Please chime in and we can discuss this before we go to a vote.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, so I don't know. It's another one that doesn't need much discussion. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just think it's a no-brainer. We need to protect our school children. It's not unreasonable to make sure encampments aren't within 500 feet. And a lot of kids can't walk to school, and they encounter these obstructions, sofas, needles, etc., on their way to school, and that's not right either. So I think this is a good thing. It protects the children, which is what we should all be concerned about. So I'm certainly in favor of this. Thanks.
Thank you. And Randy, go ahead.
Hello, hello. Yeah, I just would echo not only what everyone else has already said, but I would also point out that the SCNC has received several calls from people who have to walk their kids through to Rio Vista, right under, for example, the extensive encampment that's on Vineland. And I would challenge anyone to walk their children through that encampment that says it's an unrealistic or not fair or penalizing or criminalizing those that have to traverse through encampments. It's not safe for those in the encampments to be under there in the first place, and certainly it's not safe for someone with a child to have to walk either through the encampment or some choose to walk in the street. And so this, yeah, I just echo what everyone says. I believe this is a no-brainer, and we should be very supportive of it.
Thank you, Randy. I think we can go now to a vote. Scott Mandel votes yes. Jeff Hartwick
Yes.
and Patty Kirby.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously. Okay. Wow. 6:30, moving right along.
You go.
Item 12, update from the North Hollywood LAPD CPAB. If Patty and Sherry have anything to tell us of interest, go ahead.
Sherry, go ahead. You're muted. Unmute. Yep.
Okay, there I am. Well, just, when you were talking about the mufflers, and all of that, Officer Van Claveren is our traffic complaint officer. And one of our board members at our last meeting brought up the fact of, the loud mufflers and everything. And, the Officer Van Claveren was talking about how hard it is, for them to really get to stuff like that. So what people need to do is to do an exact location, the time, and all of that. And then they can look and see if there's a pattern in a particular area where they can address. And you all understand that Valley traffic, that they are affected just as every other part of LAPD with the lack of officers. We have one traffic officer for the whole North Hollywood division, and that goes from Satakoy up to Mulholland, from Coldwater Canyon to the Burbank border. So that makes it kind of difficult with that. What we're doing, it can be addressed. So, I mean, you can always send an email to Officer Van Claveren, or you might even invite him to come and be a guest to speak to you about some of the traffic issues that people have in Studio City. But, you know, again, to be specific with days and times and locations for him to address something like that, and he can tell you what they can and can't do. So that might be educational. Our slows weren't at our last CPAB meeting, so it was kind of a short one, which was nice. But I know one of the things that the captain was saying, you know, that they still have a major problem with cars being stolen and people leaving their keys and their key fobs in the car. They need to remember to take it out. He says that about, you know, out of 14 cars stolen, 9 of them, people have left their keys in the car. And it happens mostly like in the tandem parking lots because it's more convenient, you know, for one roommate to move the car and all that. So they need to be more cognizant of that. That's a crime that can be prevented. Let's see, the use of force. They talked about the use of force numbers that we had for last year, the 2020 use of force numbers. 911 is 911, but dispatch has answered almost 1.5 million calls in that year. 521,000, which is about 36%, were because of the proactive police work with detentions. You know, that's when the police are out there doing and they see something, so they stop. It isn't like responding to a call. 47 of those, which is 3%, which has led to an arrest with these proactive calls, and that's out of 1.5 million people. 2,246, which is 0.14% of those were use of force was needed. And out of those 2,246 people, only 27 of them, which is 0.001%, where they had to do use of force, excuse me. That's all that was use of force at 27 people out of 1.5 million calls for the city of Los Angeles. The overall crime year to date, violent crime is up 4.4%. And they've set up in North Hollywood a violent crime task force, which is to work Friday through Sunday with 1 supervisor and 4 officers. So that's 1 extra unit that's out there on the weekends. And also North Hollywood has recovered about 150 guns year to date from traffic stops. Property crime is down about 3.7%. And let's see, the response time to 911 right now, going code 3 is 5.9 minutes for a nonviolent call, which is a code 2 call. Their average time is like 22.6 minutes. So if you call and you call the non-emergency number, that's about the average time an officer will respond, depending upon the call load. Like if there's a lot of calls coming in, you know, they're not going to be able to respond to something like that quickly. And then the non-priority calls, like if you're calling for a party house or, you know, loud noise and stuff like that, that can be almost an hour before LAPD can respond to that due to the call load. I mean, if you stop and think about it, and when I put out the reports, the CompStat reports that I get from a police service representative out in, I think Topanga Division or Mission, North Hollywood averages about 1,000 calls a week they respond to. Our officers are that busy. So they've been out working hard. Our slows have been working on the homeless issue in the parks. They've been trying to get them to take services. 47% of the crimes in North Hollywood are homeless related. And that means many of the victims are homeless too. It's that homeless on homeless crimes is a big issue. The park and ride of the Hollywood Bowl is still a big issue. And a lot of crime comes from there and goes into the community. But since it's county property, LAPD cannot step on that. But as soon as people step on the sidewalk, they're out of county property, then they can address them. And it's interesting because Sheila Kuehl's office did send me an email wanting to know who the senior lead officer was for the Studio City area. I think that finally, you know, they're getting wind with Sean's hard work because he's been on top of it. He's been working hard to try to get that park and ride resolved, you know, the issue there. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Let's see. Oh, and then it's funny because the patrol captain at the end of the meeting, he was saying that it's just like there's been an increase of road rage. And he said that you need to be careful because more and more people are carrying guns. So it's not worth it for you to get yourself in a road rage incident. Just, be the bigger person, let them have their little hissy fit and move on. That's the best thing. And there are a lot more guns out there. And the problem that they're having is a lot of them are ghost guns. And also too, a lot of the homeless people are getting guns because they steal them from people. So you need to make sure that people really lock up their weapons in their home if they do have them. It's getting bad out there. I think, Patty, do you have anything else?
Yeah, just a couple of things, Sherry. I think it would be fun to share the radar experiment we did with, I think it was Cease that did it, on
Yeah.
Moore Park, and what that meant to a lot of people that were speeding on Moore Park between Colfax and Laurel Canyon even.
Yeah, well, what we do is part of our CEASE team, our CEASE committee that came out of CPAB, we're a group of volunteers. And there's several different operations that we do. And one of them that we have started the beginning, towards the end of last year, where we have our volunteer uniform people that go out, and one has a radar gun, one has a camera, and one is the scribe to write down the information. And they're out there with one of our officers. They're driven to a location. And what they do is that they get not citations, but they catch speeding people that are like 7 miles over the hour of miles an hour of the speed limit. And what will happen is all that information is taken. We've got a photograph of them. They run it through their base and they get a hold of the registered owner. A letter goes out to the registered owner to notify them that their car was speeding on such and such a street to such and such a time, going, X amount of miles over the speed limit. And then there's a little education thing about how dangerous it is to be speeding and how many lives are lost and all that. And a letter is signed by the captain and is sent out to them. And since the beginning of the year, as it stands right now, they've sent out over 2,100 letters to people. That's how many people they've got. And they're only out for like maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. And they may go out once or twice a week, and they go to different locations that there's been complaints about speeding cars. And, from the SLOs or from the detectives, they point out the areas. And people have responded, and they panic when they get one of these letters. They think, oh my God, I got a ticket. Who do I pay? How much is it? They panic. And it's like, no, it's just a warning. It's just a notification that, we've got you on record here that your car was speeding, whether you were driving it or somebody else was. And, I just stopped doing it, that type of a thing. So it's more of a warning, an education warning thing that's happened. And I know that a lot of people have come out and they've seen them out there and they've thanked them for coming by because they've noticed a difference. And we've made an impact because a lot of times when they're out there, like within 5 minutes on Waze, it comes by as a speed trap, avoid this area, there's a speed trap happening. So it's a very effective tool that we've been doing. And, that's.
We also have a package theft unit that they're putting, what do you want to call them? Dummy
Pirate.
packages?
It's-
Yeah, porch
Right.
pirate.
Yeah,
packages out.
we haven't had any luck with that, but every deployment period, which is a 4-week period, I would say probably, maybe even twice a week, a location is picked, and it's usually, we reach out to people in different areas that have offered their homes, that have got a camera. They've got to have a camera and pretend that they're not home, and we have a bait package. And in that bait package has got electronic equipment worth, I think, over $2,500. So it's a felony. We made sure that it was a large amount of money. So, we place it at the house, and we are sitting around, just watching. We're in our own cars, just watching to see if we see any porch pirates come up. We look for Amazon trucks or, all the delivery services coming. And unfortunately, we haven't been at the right place at the right time to get anybody, but we are out there attempting to do that. So if there's anybody that has had their package stolen, or they know on their block that they always seem to get hit, we need to know the location. And if somebody would be willing to offer their home for this porch piracy detail, and we can let John know and we can scope it out and see if it's feasible for us to do it. We know a lot of it happens in apartment buildings, and there's no way that we would be able to, watch that because of the location. It has to be like a single family home on a residential street.
Okay, one more thing is, everyone, no matter what the burglary is, even how small, report the burglary online. My neighbor even had his sunglasses in his car broken, his sunglasses stolen, car broken. I don't want to report it because then we get the statistics of activity in a particular area and we get a little bit more coverage maybe. So I don't know how to stress it anymore, is lock it, how to keep it, and report any robberies.
Yeah, because, as far as the police are concerned, if you don't report it, then the crime never happened.
Right.
And that's the whole thing is, there was a lady on next door, her bike was stolen, and I was texting her and I just said, you need to report it. And sometimes you may have to go into the station if the online reporting thing isn't working. You can go online. You can even call the station and file a report over the phone. They're trying to encourage everybody to go online to the LAPD website to file a report. There's a lot of police reports that can be filed there. And it's true because, if Studio City, south of the boulevard is got, 10 cars that have been broken into in a 2-week period, that is like, oh, okay, that area is being hit a lot. So the officers with their deployment, patrol may be going down your street a little bit more to catch it, knowing what time it happened or approximately what time. And it's minutest bit thing, like stolen bikes, chances are you may never get it back, because we know who most likely steals them. But if you register your bike and you have pictures of your bike and somehow mark your bike for whatever and a good description of it, and you send it in and the police can see it, and when they're out on patrol they may spot your bike. It gives them probable cause it was reported stolen, so there's a slight chance that might happen too. But we have to do our share, and be the eyes out there for the department, to report crime and to do what we can to protect ourselves and our neighborhoods. Can't expect the police to do everything for us. We have to do it ourselves.
Great, that's great information. Because it's an agenda item, let's see if there's any public comment, then we can comment on some of the things you said. So anyone from the public have anything to say about the CPAB update, raise your hand. Not seeing any hands, public comment is closed. I just wanted to emphasize one of the statistics that Sherry read off with all of the police interactions with the public, and 27 use of force involving the police officer's firearm out of all of those contacts, which is astonishing, that number being so low. I think most people don't realize that, based on press reports and such. Also about the mufflers, I'm hoping that the council and the city attorney come up with some way of streamlining the enforcement of this, because that's their goal. I'm going to follow up on this council file and see what comes out of this. Obviously, calling the police department saying I heard a loud muffler, they know the problem is probably going to require some money, maybe some technology, and different, maybe some different Bureau of Automotive Repair action to maybe, if they're illegal when they're on the car, it might be illegal to put it on the car. We shall see. I'll be watching that one closely. Anyone else from the committee have a CPAB comment?
Oh, yeah, just a quick question, Sherry. I think you mentioned a statistic, 47% of crimes in the North Hollywood division involved homeless encampments. Was that what you said?
Not homeless encampments necessary, but it's the homeless. 40% of the crimes, the assaults and stuff like that are homeless related.
Homeless related. Okay, got you.
Yeah, it's like, they might be fighting among themselves over drugs, or a rape may happen, or, attack or something like that. But also the fact that the homeless do go out and, are harassing the rest of us too. But the homeless, homeless are victims as well. And as far as the use of force, there is the report that you could see online at lapdonline.org. It has the whole use of force for each year, like 2019 and 2020 is up there now for your research. And there's a lot of information. We post our minutes from our CPAB meeting. They're up there online too. You have to kind of scroll around and do community involvement or put in CPABs, and you can see the CPAB minutes from all the other divisions. Everybody's supposed to be posting their minutes, so you kind of know what's going on that way. I mean, are there any issues or anything that you know of that Patty and I need to bring to our meeting next week? Unfortunately, we don't have any updated stuff because our meeting was like, 3 weeks ago. And I'm sure a lot has happened then, but we don't have the latest information for you.
I think you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in Studio City, in addition to all these motions and what I was mentioning about the dangerous homeless person that everybody knows, including Sean. And I keep him in the loop, and I'll have more information from Mountain Conservation and Recreation Authority and County Mental on that in a month. So I think you've pretty much covered it all.
Great.
So let's move along to item 14, just to let you know, every single one of these I follow up on. I watch the council file, I'll see how they're voted on, and I'll report back next month if there's any progress. There was actually something that was on our agenda that we had a motion for that I didn't put the community impact statement tag at the end, and Jeff had informed me it had already passed. That was about the strobe lights at the demonstration. So that's why we're not hearing anything more about that. That's a done issue. The council passed it. Anyone have any ideas, suggestions for further meetings, future meetings? Email me, call me, text me. Happy to get more items that we can deal with. And absent that, why don't we say goodnight at 6:50?
The record.
Anyone object for a second?
Second.
Okay, well, thank you. This went very quickly and it was very informative. And I'm sorry, one more thing. I don't know when the next board meeting is. It was supposed to be in another week, but I believe it's being postponed or canceled. I'm hoping to get an announcement from this so we can get these. I'll submit these to the board for placement on their agenda, and then please show up and make your public comment or board comment, and let's get these things all passed by the board and submitted to the city clerk. And for that, at 6:51, good night, everybody.
Thanks, Peter and Patrice, for attending.
Good night, everybody. You
Bye-bye.
did good, Pat.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Night.